Welcome back to another episode of Career Channels. Glad to have you with us. Today, we are in our Madison office with Michael Wiles, who is one of our career development specialists, and Carolina Russ-Maui, who is our, correct me if I'm wrong, business and operations.
Close.
Okay.
Operations management consultant.
There we go. So today's episode is going to be growing pains from first job to where you are now, and any advice you might be able to give to our listeners and job seekers. So, Mike.
Well, my first job was right after summer between my senior year, graduating high school, and my first year of college. I worked 2 days a week at the Dollar General unloading trucks, and that was 12 to 14-hour days doing that. So that allowed me a little freedom on the outside, and also provided a little bit of money. Then I went back to school and stayed in school through the summer and everything like that. So my next job was probably 96. I worked at Badcock's there in Perry, setting up furniture, delivering, doing repossessions. Worked there for a few months, and then the church that I go to in Perry started a daycare. So I went after school and over the summer following year working for them. I taught kindergarten through 7th grade. And then after that, my next job started in 98, and I started at Winn-Dixie as a bagger and worked my way up to produce manager, from produce manager to pricing specialist. I was there for 25 years until I took this job.
Okay. So going back to your first job, times have changed. A lot of job seekers now are wanting to get that top spot right off the rip. But what advice or even experience could you share with our listeners and job seekers about that first job?
Well, your first job, you want to look at it as something like me. My first job, it was just something for me to make some money over the summer while I was getting ready to go to college. And then the other jobs was just a kind of a stepping stone advance going on up. And honestly, whenever I took the Winn-Dixie job as a bagger, it was the same thing. It was to work over the summer and be able to work a couple nights a week while I went to school. And next thing I know, I'm full-time assistant produce manager and then produce manager, and work my way on up that way. Some of the jobs that you take when you're young, you wind up liking them. You're thinking it's just going to be something, I just need a little extra money, a little something to do. And it can turn out to be good. The 25 years I had at Winn-Dixie, I mean, at 5 years part-time, well, actually 4 years part-time, and then I went full-time. The first year I went full-time, I had 5 weeks of paid vacation. Actually 3 weeks paid vacation, 2 weeks of sick leave. I had one of the best insurances that you could have in Perry, and it wasn't costing me hardly anything at all. So that was, look at it, and you're young. If you're young enough, there's plenty of fields out there that can go totally opposite direction from what you plan. Me, I've always been in customer service.
So what you would say is pretty much along the lines of get whatever you can for that first job just so you can get some experience under your belt?
Well, get some experience under your belt, but don't look at the job and look at the details. Make sure that you get it, and 2 weeks into it, you decide you don't like the job. That doesn't look good to quit. So I would say you need a job, but don't honestly jump at the first job opportunity. You have to make sure that you're a fit and it's a fit for you.
Okay.
Because if you hop in this job and you're there for a month or two, and then you're in another job for a month or two and a month or two, and then you finally find the job that you want, your employer is going to look at you and go, well, this person job hops. Do we really want to put the time and effort into training them when in 2 months they're going to leave and go to another job? So that's what I'm saying. Just don't just take it and then, like I said, you find out you don't like it and leave.
So you mentioned that you were at Winn-Dixie for 25 years.
Mhm.
You said that you got up into management. As a manager, what single piece of advice could you give to a job seeker looking to get hired and even move up?
First thing for a job seeker is when you come into a job interview, be dressed for the job. Don't come in sweatpants and a loose t-shirt and a backwards bowl cap and flip-flops to do a job interview. Right off the bat, that's strike one. You're not looking professional. And that's even if you're at a gym or something like that. Go in. It doesn't have to be a suit or tie or anything. Go in. You can have a nice pair of jeans on. You can have a nice t-shirt. But be groomed and be polite and be on time. That's the biggest thing, is getting your interview. You can only make a first impression one time. And don't mess that first impression up.
So now that you're here, do you think this is going to be your final stop, or do you eventually want something different?
I like what I'm doing right now. I would like to be able to advance doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I've always been in customer service. I just changed from selling you groceries to helping you get a job and find a job that's for you.
Okay. So for some of our listeners who might be looking for that last job, their final stop, what might you say to them?
If you're looking for your last job, if you apply for a position with a company and you might not be fully qualified for it, like I said, if you can get your foot, like the old ad that I always say, if you're wanting to be an executive, if you can get a mail job in the mail room to start out with the company, get familiar with your company, and then you can advance up. I started out as a bag boy, working 4 nights a week, and wound up moving up into management. Never did want to be the store manager or assistant manager. That just wasn't my cup of tea there. But I moved up into management and had it real nice here. I'm starting at the bottom, but I'd like to work my way up into the CDS 2, 3, and 4, go up that way. Maybe get involved with some of the youth programs.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing. Just get your foot in the door and make a good impression. And if you do that, you can advance in a job.
All right. So, Caroline, I'm going to ask you pretty much the same series of questions. So, your first job, how old were you? What was it?
My first job, I was in high school, towards the end of high school, and I worked for the clerk of court in town, in Madison. And I was definitely the lowest position there. I was pretty much just a student aide. So whichever department needed some odd task done, they would put me on it. I loved it though, because I was in a professional setting, so I had to dress professional. So I was able to, learn important things about how you should dress to go to work and how you should act at work, things you shouldn't do. And I worked there just probably just a few hours a week, and then in the summertime a little more until I went to college, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. So when you were looking for that first job, were you wanting to be in that position, or?
Well, actually, when it started out, for I was looking for community service hours for a scholarship. And so that's how I started working there, doing my community service hours for a college scholarship. And then after I finished the hours that we had to do for the scholarship, I asked the clerk if it would be okay if I stayed as an actual job. So then I started working, and that was nice, getting an actual paycheck. So I wouldn't say I was looking for that job specific. I was just looking for an opportunity in the community to gain some community service hours, and then I was able to stay on.
Okay. So for any of our listeners that might be looking for that first position, or like you, if they're looking for community service hours or just trying to do something over the summer, what might you say to them?
I would definitely, especially if you're just starting out, look everywhere. Even things that you think you might not be interested, you might not realize that you are interested in those things. So there's certain jobs out there that you would probably turn your nose up at if you heard it, but have an open mind. And part of being young and looking for jobs is experiencing things that you might not be your norm, and you might find a really cool career.
Okay. So from there, what job did you have next?
So then I moved for college, and I worked in retail. I worked at Ann Taylor, upscale women's clothing, and then later Coach handbags. And those were fun. Retail's, as Mike mentioned, it's customer service is always good. You meet a lot of people, and you get to truly help people with things that they think is important. Like you might think, oh, groceries or clothes, handbags, it's trivial, right? But people, it's important to people. So customer service, no matter what type of customer service, you feel like you're doing something for somebody. At Ann Taylor, people would come in stressed out about an important interview they had. They had to have a suit for the interview. So it was our job to help them find the perfect suit to make them dress for the interview, like Michael also touched on. So I enjoyed it. It was, not a lot of hours, part-time, 20 hours a week, something like that. And a good opportunity to meet people and all different types of people.
So what would you say the biggest thing you learned working in those retail positions? What would you say the biggest thing you learned was?
I think in those positions, definitely you learn patience. You learn that you're not going to, every person that comes in the door, you're not going to think every person is wonderful, right? So you have to learn how, if somebody comes through the door and they're a tricky customer, you have to learn how to not show what you might be feeling. We would have people that would come in last thing in the day, and they would try on, it seemed like 100 pieces of clothing and leave them all on the dressing room floor, right? So we'd already cleaned for the evening pretty much, and then we would have to, but we still had to treat them with respect and show them the same customer service that we showed somebody that came in 2 hours before closing. That's an important thing to learn, because everybody that comes into any workplace, everybody's not going to be your model customer. So you should treat everybody, no matter if they're that model customer or they're having a bad day. Everybody should be treated with the same type of customer service, a high level of customer service, hopefully.
Okay. So moving from retail, what was your next position?
So from retail, I had graduated from college. So then I had to get the full-time job. I couldn't justify having the part-time job anymore. So I started looking for work, and a friend mentioned that she had just gotten a job working for the state. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I went and applied for the job that she had. And she had a little more work experience under her belt. She hadn't just graduated. So when I went and applied, I was passed over for that job, but they did say, well, we do have another position that's the level underneath the job that you applied for. It doesn't require a college degree, but you could start in that position. And then once you're familiar with the job, you can apply to be moved up. So that's what I did. I started at the bottom of that job. It was not quite the same work that we're doing here at Career Source, but it was in unemployment. So I was pretty much like a secretary for unemployment appeal hearing officers. So I started there, and then later on I was able to move up to the next position.
Okay. So was that the job before this one, or
No,
were there more?
no, that was my first job after college. And then I relocated. So one thing that when I first started working for the state, I didn't think anything about retirement or anything like that. I was like, sure, I'll do the pension plan. That's cool. Didn't really care at the time. I just had to check one box and didn't really care if the insurance was great. And then when I relocated, I was older. And so then it was important, right, to have the insurance and the retirement. Then you're thinking about it. So I was fortunate enough to work for another clerk of court in Central Florida. And I was able to piggyback on that same state retirement and also have decent benefits. So that one I just kind of stumbled upon that job, and I really enjoyed it. It was a good job.
Yeah. So from there, did you move into the position you're in now, or did you have?
Yeah, so I was working for the clerk of court. I was keeping records for the Board of County Commissioners in Central Florida. And then when I decided to relocate to Madison to be closer to family, I ended up here.
Okay. So just like earlier when I asked Michael, what's the best piece of advice you could give to someone who's either looking for their first job, they're somewhere in the middle, or they're trying to find that last job that they want to retire from?
Well, I think definitely for someone looking for their first job, it would be go into job searching with an open mind. Even if you're not looking for your first job, even if you're somewhere in the middle of your, life job hunt, just be open-minded, because what you think you might want to do probably won't be what you end up doing in the end of your job search. For me, one of the big things when I think about like the end of my job search is stability. I have children and a husband. So for me, I want to make sure that I can provide what I need to provide for the family. So insurance, retirement, that type of thing. It's nice also if you can feel, excited to go to work sometimes, or feel like you're doing something to give back. So that's an added bonus.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and share a little bit about my job experience. First job was making sandwiches at Subway. And like you, Michael, it was just something to get a little bit of extra money, a little bit of job experience.
They call that a sandwich artist, right? Isn't that
yes.
Isn't that the official title?
Yes. Sandwich artist. That was
That's the new one for it.
Yep. But like you said, Caroline, not every customer is going to be that model customer. They're not going to make you smile and be happy that they're there. But you have to learn how to deal with those difficult individuals. So from there, I've done a whole host of different jobs, from other food service jobs. I did a hardware store for a little while, worked in a lumber yard. So like you said, I started at the bottom, worked my way up, started helping out on the lumber yard. Yep. So I would say, just like both of you have said about your experiences, don't be scared to start at the bottom. Don't be scared to work your way up. And from that job, I actually went into the prison system. Did that for almost 7 years. And that one is a true test of your customer service abilities, because dealing with inmates, those are your customers. And some of them you never have a problem with. Others, you have problems daily with them. But you have to learn how to treat those difficult customers with the same amount of respect and professionalism as you do those individuals you don't have problems with. So whenever I went for the interview on corrections, I made sure that I was dressed appropriately. And for that one, since it is a state job, there's a uniform required. I made sure to have a nice pair of slacks, clean button down, made sure that I was groomed properly. Whereas working at the hardware store, the lumberyard, pair of jeans and a clean t-shirt. So, like you said, Michael, you got to dress for the job.
Yep, that's it.
And from the prison, I actually went to the complete opposite end of the job spectrum. I was growing medical marijuana, which
That is opposite.
it is going from trying to get rid of them to growing. But the interview on that one, it is a little bit more of a professional setting because it's medical. So I went in with the same mindset. Make sure to dress not just for the job you're going for, but I would say when going for an interview, show off just a little bit. Dress for the next position up from what you're applying for. So I did end up getting promoted inside of the cannabis facility. So then I actually started having to dress more professionally every day at work. Had to make sure that I stayed well groomed, which, as you can see, not everyone would consider a full beard well groomed, just because standards are a little bit weird based on the industry. But even if you've got a full beard, long hair for a guy, if you present yourself in a professional manner, that can make all the difference. And now that I'm here, like you said, I never thought that I would be in this position where I'm having to help individuals. I'm getting the opportunity to teach not just the younger generation, but everyone in between, and help them to develop themselves, to better themselves, to get where they want to be long term. I never would have thought that I would be doing this kind of job.
Did you tell us your title?
So on the previous episode, that was my debut.
Okay.
The outreach coordinator. So I'm out in the public a little bit more. I do a lot of the events. I do a lot of networking, which never thought that I would be in a position for networking and connecting not just businesses, but job seekers and different programs all together. So just like both of you said, dress for the job. Don't be scared to get your hands dirty and actually work for it. Start at the bottom, work your way up. And you might start off somewhere that you're not really planning on staying, but you might end up loving it.
And be open.
Yeah.
Be open to jobs that you might.
I was, matter of fact, applying in the career center for a job that I was wanting, doing CAD work. Whenever they asked me, they said, "Well, what about this?" I said, "Oh,
Doing what type of work?
I was going to do CAD blueprints." For
Oh, okay.
Computer automation design.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
And,
you. Layman's terms, please.
And that was for Big Top Manufacturing in Perry.
Okay.
So funny thing is, kind of happened the same way with me.
Yep.
I came in actually using some of Career Source Services, the unemployment, job searching, and then some of the staff here in-house said, hey, we've got this position open. We see that you're good with computers. Would you be interested in applying? And I said, sure, I kind of need a job right now, so let's go for it. And our executive director actually reached back out to me and said, hey, hold that thought for that position because we've got another one that seems to fit you even better. So based on your experiences, based on what you know, you might just have that random chance to end up in a job that you actually wake up in the morning and you're like, hey, I get to go to work. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I applied on a Wednesday, and Thursday morning, they emailed me and called me, and it was Labor Day weekend. Whenever I come in that Saturday for my interview, that was from Wednesday to Saturday. Whenever I got the phone call to come back.
I came in the same weekend. I was very excited for a Saturday interview since I was from out of town.
So pretty much to recap today, for those first-time job seekers, don't be scared to start at the bottom, but don't jump at the first thing that comes your way. Know what you're capable of and be willing to admit what you don't know and what you might be willing to learn. Make sure you dress appropriately at the interview, and not just at the interview, but throughout the entirety of your job. For those individuals who are looking for a more permanent job, know your worth, know what you're capable of, be able to admit what your shortcomings may be. That way you can grow yourself with that new position. And be open to whatever may come your way, because you never know when you might find the job that you just want to stay with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So to all of you listening, remember, you can call, click, come into the office for any of your job search needs. And we do have a multitude of other services that we can offer.
They can come in and we can go over your resume with you. We can do mock interviews. If you've never been on an interview, or if you're going on an interview and you're not sure how it's going to be, we also offer those services. We don't just do the unemployment and everything like that. We'll be happy to help you with a mock interview.
And you mentioned getting, what you wear to an interview. We can help you pick the perfect outfit so that you do impress first thing when you walk in the door.
And you might want to go back to school. We offer a lot of funding for a lot of different programs through Big Bend Technical, River Oak Technical College in Live Oak, through North Florida College here in Madison. So that's another option that you have.
Yep. Education, job hunting, resume building, interview skills. We can help you with all of it. So thank you all again for joining us. And remember, you can find your career path here with Career Channels.